Hello everyone. Today's video is about tournaments and about the different perspective I have as a player compared to the perspective I have as a spectator on them. And I will start with two of them, very well-known ones, MLG and IEM. And I will start with MLG. So MLG, well, it's a I think it's like right now it's like pretty much one of the probably the leading tournament in StarCraft, and I often get asked, why don't you go to MLG, like please come to an MLG. I think like even one of the MLG staff asked me well, quite a long time ago, whether I would want to attend, but there is a problem. The first problem is it's very expensive to travel to the US. I mean, I don't have to pay for my travel myself because Alternate pays for my travel expenses, but obviously my team also wants to get something out of me going on a trip to the US. To put it a bit, like, I'm not sure like whether everyone knows, like a flight to the US is like, I guess it depends a bit on where and how early you book, but probably somewhere between like 600 and 900 euros, 600, 800 euros, something like that. And of course you also need a hotel, and hotels are not exactly cheap. Like hotel rooms like usually don't start at lower than 60 or 70 euro per night, and an MLG lasts a couple of days. And of course you need to be there at least one day early. If you're there only one day early, you are oftentimes pretty fucked by jet lag, so you oftentimes want to be there 2 days early. So you arrive 2 days before the event starts, and of course you need a room till 1 day after the event, which is usually like 6 days or so, which adds another like 400 or so on top. And yeah, I mean that's not exactly expensive. On top of that, traveling to the US is also very tiring. The one time I did travel to the US, it was for NASL finals. I started traveling at 6 a.m. in the morning. No, sorry, I have to think for a moment. Yes, I started at around 6 or 7 a.m. From Erlangen. That's where I live. It's in Bavaria in Germany. I went to Munich with the train, and then I took a local train to get to the airport in Munich. Then I took a flight to Washington. I think it was Washington. Yes, I went to Washington. And even though it was the same flight number, I had to change airplanes in Washington. I had to go to immigration. Then I had to change airplane. I flew to Denver. And then from Denver I flew to Ontario. And I was there at around like 9 p.m. or so. I think I was traveling for around 24 or 25 hours, and obviously I was very, very tired after that. And of course, if there's an event, for example, in New York, and there's a direct flight from Munich or Frankfurt, to both of them I need around 2 to 3 hours with the train. It's better. It's not 25 hours, but still, you will never get away with less than like 16, 17 hours of travel, and that's very long, especially if it's shortly before an event. So yes, that's already a bit meh. Then on top of that, I guess that's more like personal preference. I don't like the US all too much. I mean, the people are super nice, don't get me wrong, like I have nothing against like the people there, like they are super friendly and such, but the food is really, really crappy, and I don't know, like there's just something about the US that's like weird. I mean, I can't really describe it, but something is just off. I don't know, like I just don't feel like it. Just feels a bit weird, and I didn't like being in the US all too much, admittedly. Like I personally much rather go to Asia, for example, and so yeah. Well, on top of that, MLG has like a lot of Koreans. And of course now you can say, oh, blah, 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 you have to practice more, you're bad and such. Yes, of course I have to practice more. It's always good to practice more. But you know, you sometimes also have to look after other things. And well, the truth is that very few foreigners, me included, have a pretty hard time against Koreans. And I mean, StarCraft is my job, so I kind of have to make money. And at MLG, the likelihood of me making money is not that good. It depends a bit on what kind of MLG it was. I mean, MLG has been changing their system like crazy. I guess with the old system, with the groups of 5 or 6, it was like the hardest. Basically, even if you got like 3rd place in your group, you still had to win like some loser bracket matches, and you had to beat some Koreans in your group. And then if you didn't get like top 16 or whatever it is, well, tough luck. Then you went 6 days to the US for nothing. And I mean, there's many other tournaments, for example, the German EPS going on, that suffer from going to an MLG, because then you get back. For example, Socke had that. He almost missed the qualification for the last EPS finals, because he went at the first cup. He was flying back from MLG, and I think in another season, I'm not sure exactly about that anymore, he had to play one of the EPS cups right after coming back from MLG, and he was very tired, and obviously he played very bad. And yeah, like when I came back from the US, I was sick for 1 week, and I was just lying bed doing nothing. And yeah, I mean, that partly was because of the super sick air conditioning in the airplane, which even with a jacket over my head, it was still super cold. I don't know what they were thinking there. Anyway, there's many Koreans, and there's not that many places paid. I think it's MLG is one of the better events. Is exaggerated, but it's okay. Like, I mean, if you look at Dreamhack, that's really like one of those fuck you tournaments. Like, they have like, you can up to 128 players can sign up. Usually, you can say it's around 50 to 60 decent to good or better players. Basically 50 to 60 players you can potentially lose to, and paid is only the top 4. Of course, you get those great Dreamhack points if you place high in more than one event. Then you will qualify for the Dreamhack final, where I'm not sure actually how many places are paid there, but maybe it's a bit more there. But you still, like, you would probably need to make like top 8 twice to qualify for that. And so basically, to get money at Dreamhack, you need to get, like, the first group stage is basically like free, and you pretty much never see any good players dropping out there. But already in the second group stage, you can run into trouble, and I've seen like pros, like actually people who play full time, lose in the second group stage. Certainly you can lose in the third group stage, and well, then you still have to win 3 matches in single elimination, and then you get prize money. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about Dreamhack in this one. MLG at the arena, it's 32 players, of which usually 15 or 16 are Korean, and 8 places get paid. So that means that you have to do about as good as the average Korean to get paid, and I can tell you that's not easy to do. I can quickly show you. I have Liquipedia open. I like Liquipedia, by the way. Here is the last MLG arena. You see 7 Koreans and Stefano, and yes, I mean, we can check the bracket down here. Second round winner bracket, we had 2 non-Koreans left. Grubby lost there. At least he took a map of Hero. And well, Stefano managed to get to the 3rd round before dropping down. And then if you look at the loser bracket, here's the cut for wait a moment, I think no, the decider match. Sorry, I'm a bit confused right now. Anyway, like here, okay, there were some foreigners who got decently close, but in the end, not really. I mean, they just got here basically because they won against foreigners. So yes, like it's pretty hard, but at an arena, at least your team does not have to pay for the travel. And if we look at the, sorry, this is IEM. If we look at the last championship, we have 14 Koreans making prize money, and then Stefano somewhere in the middle here, and Sasquatch, whoever that is, I honestly don't know. But if we look how Sasquatch got there, He beat Goody. I mean, I like Goody, but he's not in his best shape lately. So yes, I mean, Sasquatch was kind of lucky that he got a rather easy opponent first round, and then he managed to beat Idra. I don't know. Oops, I don't know how Idra managed to beat first in the first round, but I would say, yes, Sasquatch. He beat two foreigners, so he got a pretty lucky grid here. Then he lost 0-2 to Daisy, lost 0-2 to First, and then we go to the, let me say that, to the lower bracket here. Wow, he took a map of Revival, and then he was out. So basically, he beat two foreigners. He had like, this was like the easy grid of the tournament, basically, because there were only two like real Koreans in Losira and First. I mean, Daisy is practicing in Europe, and he has never even qualified for GSL. I mean, he's a good player, but not Korean level, even if he's Korean. And yeah, so like in this bracket, like Sasquatch was the lucky one who somehow managed to sneak out to get into the prize money rankings before even the championship bracket started, and then he was out immediately. And yeah, well, Stefano is basically the only one who really regularly can compete with the Koreans. So yes, like MLG, there's simply not much reason for me to go there. I like, it's just important. You have to be realistic about that. There's better tournaments for me to look after, like the German EPS, because that is like, for those of you who don't know, there's 3 seasons per year, and the next season I think it will be again 6 weekly cups, 6 weeks in a row, where you collect points and prize money, and the top 8 in points qualifies for the playoffs, and then in the playoffs the top 4 get pretty nice prize money. The distribution is something like 600, 800, 1.5k, 3k. And so like obviously it makes much more sense for me to focus on the EPS and the tournaments that are a bit more realistic to win prize money. Now from a spectator point of view, MLG is obviously great. Like, I really like watching MLG. There's really good matches between the Koreans. There's good casters. There's even multiple streams with good casters, something that is rather rare. And like at the championship, where there's an audience, like, you really notice that there's a good atmosphere there, and like the players make do like funny ceremonies and things like that. So yes, like MLG is like a really good tournament for spectators, but for like the average foreign pro, it is pretty useless to go there, like, realistically. So now about IEM. I will do this a bit shorter because this video is already going for quite long. Travel obviously depends on where it is. I mean, it can be very long, but the nice thing for me personally about IEM is that it's not always in the US. Actually, it's rarely in the US. And I like to, like, one of the things that I like a lot about playing StarCraft and playing StarCraft professionally is that I get around the world, and that I get to see places. And so for example, like a week or two ago, there was the qualification for IEM Guangzhou in China, where I qualified. Last year there was an event in Sao Paulo where I was, and last year was also an event in Guangzhou. There will be probably one in Kiev again this year. There was one last year. I kind of guessed that they will do one again in Kiev, because I think that went pretty well. And so yes, you can have long travel, but some of the events are also nearby. What's really good, in my opinion, is that they have a, not so big, but they have a minimum payout for all the people who are qualified for group stage by qualifying for the event previously. Of course, now they have the open bracket in the new season, so if you go for the open bracket, you can go home empty-handed, but I mean, that's a risk that you like just have to take when you want to go for the open bracket. And I think the open bracket is also kinda made actually for like local players to try to get into the group stages, and it's not meant like for super many international players to go there, like it happened in Cologne. And like here you can see like the last finish, the last ranking of the last IEM, and you see that actually there's more foreigners. That like Vortex placed 4th place, Nercho placed 2nd, and Well, there's quite a few Koreans up here, but here you have Slivko in the top 8, Kaz, Elfie, sort of, are 9 to 12, and really it's quite a lot more mixed, so to say. It's not as Korean heavy as MLG, so really like the people who get some money at these events, it's not only the Koreans. Like, I mean, the Koreans totally deserve to get a lot of money, don't get me wrong, because they work harder than the foreigners do. But I mean, like, for the foreign scene, and like for people who play full-time, well, they just need to make money with something, and well, I'm one of those, and so that's why I personally like the MLG events much better, because even if you place last place, I mean, qualifying for an IEM event is actually not that easy, and so I think it's nice that it actually gets rewarded with at least $600 prize money, and that is only if you place last in a group of 6 people, which is not that likely. So it's quite likely that you at least get like 700. Maybe you get like a third place in your group, and then you lose in the first match of the bracket, and then you already get 900. And I think that's really nice, and I think that's something that's very good about the IEM system. And another point about the IEM system is that there's a very big group stage. Now, generally, I'm not that big of a fan of group play. But there's one big advantage, is you're not traveling somewhere far just to like go home after like a best of 3 or 2. I mean, for example, at NASL's final season 1, I remember Red was done in 15 minutes. He basically traveled, I'm not sure, maybe he was in the US at that time, but basically if you travel from Europe to the US, and then you play a single elimination tournament, and you are just out in the first round, best of 3. I mean, best of 3, that was pretty ridiculous. And, well, then it's over. Like, you traveled for 15 minutes. And, well, that must be pretty frustrating. And that's something I like about the IEM system. As I said, I'm not that big of a fan of group play in general, because I can't really explain it, and that's a topic for another video. But at least you play 5 best of 3, so you can really have a chance. Even if you have one bad match at the start, because you are not like into it that much yet, you have a chance to like at least show some good games. Even if you don't get all too far, you have a chance to like show some good games on the stream, and also like get something out of the event, and not just like 2 racks and then Reactor Hellion all in GG. Well, that's something along the lines of that happened to Red. I remember that. And what's also like good for me, like in a very selfish way, is that there's a more limited amount of Koreans at IEM. There's qualifiers for Korea, but usually, for example, at the Europe event, there were only 2 slots for Korea. I think in Guangzhou there will be like 3 or 4 slots for Korea. I'm not sure about that. And of course there's the open bracket, which gives us another 8 Koreans, most likely, or maybe at least 7, I would say. But still, like, the number of Koreans is a bit more limited, which like gives a better mix. And I think, like, at least for me, that's good, because I really have a chance to get decently far. I mean, maybe by beating a Korean on the way, but there's not like the big mass of Koreans that you have at an MLG, which, like, if you look at it like from before starting to play, it's kind of hopeless, and well, that's just how it is. As a spectator, IEM is admittedly not as good as MLG, but I think they have improved lately. I think production has gotten better. I didn't see the last one because I was there myself for, well, open bracket and for the WCG qualification. But I think production has gotten better. I think games are still good. I mean, there's still Koreans and very good foreigners, so you still have decent quality games. I think, at least not from ESL, you don't have like multiple streams, and oftentimes the ESL often has like featured streams of other languages, but those streams are really oftentimes unwatchable, because like the observer or whoever moves the camera, he's just so bad, like he misses like the main battles. And that's something I like much better about MLG, that they really have like multiple official streams where there's a certain like standard that at least you see like the main battle of the game, and the observer is not counting the SCVs or some shit like that. And yes, like with that also comes the problem that at IEM I generally have the feeling there's more games that are like completely uncasted or only like appear on like some like side stream. I might be wrong on that one. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe MLG also has like some quite a few uncasted games, but that's like how it feels to me anyway. Like, you can correct me on that. So yes, overall I think MLG is like one of the best events for spectators. I personally still like GSL better, but like MLG is really, of the foreign tournaments, it's like at the top for spectators, but it's really shitty for foreigners who like are not Stefano, or maybe, I don't know, Naniva has not been doing so well lately. Or like for someone who is very lucky. I mean, you can always be lucky and have a very good day and beat some Koreans, no doubt about that, but realistically chances are rather small, and there's prize money is not so easily within reach as with IEM. And now for some of you it might seem a bit weird that like I get happy about a minimum prize money of 600 because it's not that much, but you know, it just feels good. Like if you go to an event and like you travel, you have 2 long travels back and forth, and you are like there for like 5 days or so, that at least you get a bit out of it. Even if you like were horribly jet lagged and then you are out quickly, at least you get a bit out of it, and that just makes it feel better. And you don't feel like you just went there like for nothing. And yeah, like maybe that's just me, and other players feel differently about that. But I think that's nice, and I hope more tournaments will have like at least like a small prize money if you went through a hard qualifier to get to an event. That's it for today. I hope you will leave many comments what you think about this topic, and if you like my channel, please subscribe. Sorry for not making a video in the last 2 days. I was very tired. But I promise I will make at least one more before I go to Sweden for WCS. I want to make a preview of the event. I'm just waiting for the bracket to be released so I can talk about the pairings there. I will most likely make more than one video, but one video is guaranteed basically. So thanks for watching, and goodbye guys.